The market is pumping right now, and I want to look which altcoins are potentially next. With Bitcoin over $100,000, it feels like the party might be over soon, but it could also be that the party just actually started. So let's take a look at this because things are really looking bullish. There are a couple of indicators that are saying that this time is going to be just as amazing as the last time, and a couple of last bear cases that I could find are off the table right now. So if you want to be extra bullish for today, welcome. Watch this video, man. Subscribe to the channel, like it, turn the bell notification on, and let's get into it. And also there is a link for the Alpha Factory down below for the exclusive community. Not even gonna tell you what you're gonna get there today. Just be there, right? You'll know it's good. So Bitcoin, $103,000 now. In all honesty, I didn't think it would break today. It kind of came unexpected. I mean, Bitcoin was hovering at these levels for a couple of weeks, and now all of a sudden it kind of exploded. And it looks like the range that we had earlier from March until November, basically, but on a very, very, very small scale, basically, right? We made these lower highs, got rejected, and once we broke above it, we kind of mooned. Now, first thing I want to show you is something really bullish for Bitcoin, because so far it turned out that if you would have thought that this time was different, then it wouldn't have ended well for you. Now, the only catalyst that people could have for now is maybe saying like, hey, we will get an early cycle top. And it could be the case, right? The thing that I've been saying constantly on this channel is, look, sticking to the cycle is what made me money. And it would be unwise to now all of a sudden let go of that. But I also want to show you another indicator apart from the cycle and the time that shows like, hey guys, we still have a long bull market to go. So if you take a look at Bitcoin on the monthly chart right here, what I looked at is the RSI. And if you look at the monthly RSI, you could see that we are, kind of holding this trend line every single time, right? If we get to this trend line, it is basically the top for Bitcoin. And in all honesty, we went to the top here, and then we came down and went to the top there again, and kind of a double top in 2017 as well. So it doesn't even necessarily has to mean, that once we get there, we will get an immediate crash. But this trend line is major resistance for Bitcoin. Now, if we get there again this cycle, it would mean that from this point, we have a 14% pump to go on the RSI. So I looked at the previous cycles where we also had a 14% to go. And I marked it off at the moment we had that 14% to go, right? So that's right now. In 2020, 21, right? This is where we still had a 14% to go. And here in 2017 and here in 2013. And then look at the Bitcoin chart to see how much gains do we still get from that point usually, and also how much time does it take. And what's pretty interesting is that from this point where we are sitting right now, it's still, historically speaking, very far from the top, right? Here we still had 14% to go, but it took another 9 months. Here we still had 14% to go, and it took another 8 months. And here we still had 14% to go, and it took another 11 months, right? So 8, 9, 11. If we stick to that, and let's say it does 8 months, right? That will put us in August, 9 in September, and 11, which we have seen before, in November. This kind of lines up with end of the next year as well, right? And it could be that August, I'm also fine with that. I don't see an early top as in February or March or whatever happen for multiple reasons, and this is one of the other reasons. Now, what's also interesting that if you take a look at how much Bitcoin gained basically before it got to that oversold part, here in the cycle of 2013, which is of course not what we're going to see right now, right? Because these cycles, they diminish, and this was like an explosive cycle, which we'll never see again. But still, Bitcoin still had 6,000% to go. Here in this cycle in 2017, from the point where we are right now, basically, we still had 1,700%, so an 18x to go. which is also, I think, not that realistic for this cycle. And here in this cycle, we still had another 250% to go. So it's not saying that we will get 6,000% or 1,700% or even 250%. Again, this is diminishing, right? But what we can say is that, hey guys, it would be a little weird to assume that the top is now in, price-wise, but especially time-wise. I think that if it's like this diminishing, then, hey, we potentially could see a 50% pump from here maybe, right? And 50% pump, that would be very diminishing though, but it would put Bitcoin at 150, right? Even if we see 100%, which is super diminishing, then we will see Bitcoin at around $200,000. So there is price-wise a lot of room to grow actually for Bitcoin. Also, if you take a look at the Fibonacci retracement tool and we take it over the last cycle where we topped out, it was around the 3.618. Right, and if I put it correctly, 3.618. If we look for Bitcoin, where that would put us in this cycle, 3.618 is sitting at $210,000, and so that also kind of lines up with, hey, $200,000 isn't that weird. One thing I do want to mention before I get into the altcoins out is that, are we going to see a correction at some point? There are now at this point, first, I don't know, right? Okay, I have no clue. If I knew it, I would be rich. I wouldn't be sitting here. But I will be sitting here. I'm always bored. But there are two things right now that tell me hey, we can expect a correction. I personally took some profits today. In the Alpha Factory, I'm going to show you exactly what profits I took, how much, why, right? And it's not because I am now saying hey, there will be a correction, so I'm taking my money out. I took 5%, maybe 10 at max off the table personally. But there are two things that tell us hey, there could be a correction. One is we are now at this 1.618. I said earlier on this channel at 99.6K or so, hey, this is close enough. We could see a good correction. Now, we saw a correction to 90K, give or take, but 10%, not even 9%, is that the correction that I personally meant? Not really. I think it would not be weird if the correction would be a little more. But as you can see, we are now sitting at the 1.618. Yeah, we could break it in one candle. That's of course possible. But if we see a correction somewhere in price discovery, then it should be this level right here. Right? If we break it, then the next level is the 2.618. It's 155K, give or take. I think that should be a big resistance level in the next year somewhere, right? If we blast through it. For now, chart-wise, this lines up. Something else that combines with that that makes me feel hey, we could see a correction. And let me remove this for now because this is out of the way. Is the following, and that's again cycles. Bitcoin is showing every day hey guys, I am freaking cyclical, right? Do something with it. Here you go. Well, if we look at the cycles, then we can see that December halving year, January post halving year, right? That period, we see corrections for Bitcoin. Here we started the correction in January 2021, right? That's a month away. Over the full 4-year cycle, I think 1 month difference is close enough. And here we actually saw a correction for Bitcoin happen of a total of 30%. Right now, if we look at the cycle before that, so we go to 2017, beginning 2017, right? Which is here, December 16, beginning 2017. We also saw a correction for Bitcoin, and that correction in total also was slightly more than 30%. So in the last 2 cycles, at this stage of the market, exactly this stage, we saw both times a correction of 30%. Am I saying that we will get a correction of 30%? No, not really, right? But I am saying hey, we are sitting at the big resistance level right now. Cycle-wise, we do get it. It's wise to keep it in consideration. And how would that look like if we get that from this point? From this point, 30% correction will kind of bring us back exactly to this range right here, right? Where we stalled out for more than half a year. So would not be illogical. It would feel like the world is over for a lot of people. And I know that if you're watching this and you feel like FOMO, 103K, I'm finally having a good day, and you're telling me this shit unstop, right? Like, yeah, of course, but just keep it in mind, right? It happened twice before at this exact stage of the market. If we do get there after this big resistance right now, and it takes us all the way back to exactly this resistance, which could be support, hey, it's not that I look at all of this and be like, well, that's unrealistic. Like, it could definitely happen, right? Then again, I also feel like, you know, the gains are diminishing, so the corrections could be diminishing as well. So it could definitely be that we do not see that big of a correction, although the 618 comes in there as well. So a lot lines up with that level. We'll see. Keep it in mind. One thing that I do think is super freaking great is the USDT dominance. Now, I talked about the USDT dominance a couple of times already. Like, hey guys, here's the trend line. Look, every time it went to the trend line, it bounced and we saw a crash, right? Not a correction, a crash. I was very vocal about this. Like, guys, it is wise to keep in consideration that this could happen again, right? Because it's not what happened once or twice before, but every time. So super unwise to bet against it. Nevertheless, it broke right now, right? And that's the cool thing about crypto. Like, was it the good bet to take this in consideration? Hell yeah. Like, the odds were completely against you if you would have said, like, it will break right now. That doesn't mean it's impossible. And that's what we see right now. Sometimes the unlikely stuff just happens, right? And we broke it. I don't want to cheer too soon. It got 2 weekly closes already, so that's very bullish. But what I do want to see actually is a real monthly closure below it. And to be fair, we got the monthly closure right now. But I want to see how December ends. And if we're still below it, then I would feel like, okay, this is great. This is looking completely different right now. And what I said in the Alpha Factory as well, it could line up with something. And it could line up with the fact that, I lost the chart again, that we have there's a different type of bull run happening right now for crypto. We haven't seen this kind of bull run ever yet. And what's so different about this bull run? Well, the bull run itself will be the same, but what conditions are different during this bull run is that we have the first M2 bull run. And what do I mean by that? Is that if you take a look at the S&P, right, the S&P always goes up, right? But if you look at the S&P on the M2, the money supply, and so that takes in consideration how much money there is and what it's actually worth, right? Then you can see that we broke out from a level, a year ago already, by the way, but we broke out from a level which we haven't been above since 2001. Right? Bitcoin existed since here, right? So in all Bitcoin bull runs, we never had an M2 bull run, and now we have that. And that could line up with the fact why this is now looking slightly more terrible than what we are used to see. So this is looking fantastic. I am very happy to see this. Now, of course, Bitcoin going up means that altcoins on the Bitcoin pair go down a little bit. But then again, it's not that weird to see, right? If you look on a daily, the Bitcoin dominance just declined pretty hard. And yeah, we now bounce up a little bit. Then again, if you overlay Bitcoin, you can see that the last time the dominance was at this level was when Bitcoin was sitting at 64K. Now the dominance is at the same level, but Bitcoin is sitting over 100K. So that only means one thing, and that means that altcoins are doing fantastic. And that's what we're seeing right now. And that leads me to the next part, which altcoins are next. I nailed that bridge, by the way, on purpose. Not. But what we're seeing right now is that the high caps, so these are the high caps, this right here, this chart, contains 6 high cap coins. That's it. This is the total 3. So everything excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum minus others. So everything outside of the top 10. So what's left? Solana, XRP, Cardano, Dogecoin, altcoins, XRP, Cardano, Dogecoin, and something else. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Just look it up. What's in the top 10? And this chart has been mooning right now. And that's what you usually see, right? There are two kind of flows in crypto as far as I know. One is very global, the money that flows from Bitcoin into the high caps, into the low caps. The other one is hype to hype to hype. And we'll get to that. That's also really interesting, I think. But the global money flow in crypto, that's happening in front of us, right? We have seen Bitcoin breaking out of this range, making new highs, and the high cap solo breaking out of this range by far by now, and on its way to make new highs. Then we can finally see that the lower caps will do the same. And that's what we are seeing right now. It's what we talked about a while back already. That's what you see right here. Right? It broke out of the range and it's now on the way to make new highs. Now, this is by far not as much above the range as the high caps or Bitcoin is, but it is following. And apart from that, how majorly, like, isn't this the most insane cup and handle that you have ever seen, right? Like, this is porn for me, right? Like, I just want to say, like, this is crazy. That cup right here, we got that handle and the breakout, and now it's time to, see how far this thing is getting us, right? But I do not think it's time for the low caps just yet. And that's just because the high caps are still outperforming. If you look at the Solana dominance, it is quite high right here. If you look at the XRP dominance, it is, relative high to compared to where it came from, right? It's, of course, not where it's came from. In 2017, there were not a lot of altcoins. So XRP, owned the market with 30%. Yeah, we will, of course, never see that. But still, XRP, as high cap as it is, and then going from 1% to 4%, yeah, that's insane, right? And that's a lot of money flowing into XRP. And you will see the same with Cardano dominance or Doge dominance, right? They are all up really, really, really hard. And that dominance will eventually shift to the low caps. Right now, there were a couple of things that I discussed in one of the latest videos. And that's also, for example, that if you look at the Bitcoin dominance without stable coins, yeah, this is crazy, right? Let me get the right chart. This is crazy. We were in this huge rising wedge, and rising wedges tend to break to the downside. And that's exactly what happened. And this is the money that goes from Bitcoin into the rest of the market, except for stables, right? So this goes into high caps, low caps, whatever. And you could be like, wow, the altcoin market is doing nicely. On the other hand, it just went down where we are right now from the top with 9%. Look, if we get to the golden zone right here, that's another 14%. And if we get to the 786, that's 21% from this point. There's so much money to go into the altcoin market. That's what I said earlier. The money is already there. We do not need new money in the crypto market. We get it, but we don't need it. Although total crypto market is now also ripping. But now it's just a matter of rotation. And it's a matter of rotation. If it now flips into low caps, look, if you can see a high cap like XRP doing a 5x like it's nothing, then you can see good quality mid caps, low caps doing insane numbers. And green is the only marketing there is, right? People always try to give a narrative. Yeah, this pumping because of this and this pumping because of this. Let me tell you, people, they will look at their coins, at the high cap coins, at the Bitcoin that they have right now and be like, whoa, I'm in so much profit and it's kind of scary, price discovery. I'm gonna need to take some profits, put it into something else. They put it into the lower caps. The lower caps pump. It gets on people's radar. Like, wow, look at this low cap pump, right? They buy it. And that causes that effect that makes the chart go like this. So that's totally insane. So overall, I do think that low caps will have their moment. And we already, of course, see the lower caps also just go with the market, but not have their separate moment yet. I think that will come. But I think that will take a while, actually. Altseason, by the way, we spoke about that. It's like, of course, we get some retraces here and there. but this is looking strong, dude. So alt season is still going on with an occasional pullback here and there. But if you look at for Bitcoin, for all these indicators right here, right, the RSI, the stochastic RSI, the BBWP, the everything, it's sitting most of it high, but not where we topped, right? We have more room to go. However, this is where the fun part starts. Because if you apply these indicators on the alt season chart, right, the altcoins on their Bitcoin pair, then you can see that everything is sitting way lower, but it is all pointing up, right? AKA altcoins on the Bitcoin pair are sitting low, but they are going higher. Yeah, let's do that against a $103,000 Bitcoin. I'm freaking ready for that, man. I'm ready for that party. Like, it's insane. For example, the stochastic RSI, and this is the monthly, right? This is the monthly. It is low, but it is pointing up right now. It is pointing up right now, right? And you can see that every single time, you know, it was sitting at this level right here, which is comparable to here. Also, time-wise, it adds up perfectly. We just bounced off of this trend line right here, right? And alt season started. Well, here we go. We're sitting at the same level right here. We just bounced off the trend line and alt season started. Insane, right? And if you take a look at the last cycle, we were sitting over here. Same exact place. Let me tell you this. If Bitcoin stays elevated, if Bitcoin doesn't even have to go up more than this, but I think it will. But if Bitcoin stays where it is right now, give or take, could go 10K down, whatever, during the rest of the next year, then altcoins on the dollar pair are gonna rip really, really, really hard, right? Because all we need right now is altcoins just outperforming Bitcoin a little bit. And we already see insane numbers, right? From their bottom, altcoins are now up with just 45% against Bitcoin, right? From the cycle bottom. But from the bottom on the dollar pair, they are up 500%. And that's just because Bitcoin went up that much. Yeah, again, if I look at this chart, I feel like, okay, next target is another 28%. But, you know, you see in this cycle as well, like, hey, we have that first run up basically. And well, here that first run up and we go way above it, right? Here we had that first run up. Here we had that first run up and we go way above it. Here we had that first run up and we're now on our way above it. Therefore, I do think that altcoins are gonna go way harder than a lot of people actually think, right? Because they don't realize that Bitcoin is now having so much more liquidity than this stage of the market in the last cycle, right? If we look exactly 4 years back, December 2020, Bitcoin was sitting at, in this month, it was between $17,000 and $30,000, right? It's now $100,000, 103. It feels good saying that. So that's quite insane. All we need now is altcoins to do well on their Bitcoin pair. And again, all these indicators are pointing to the upside freshly just from the bottom. That's insane. If we look at the others' dominance, same thing basically, right? You see this all pointing up right now, apart from all the other indicators that I just called. So the altcoins that I think are going to do best, because there's another rotation. It's not only high caps, you know, or Bitcoin high caps, low caps. It's also hype to hype to hype. And like I just showed you earlier on the channel, we had first kind of a Bitcoin hype, right? Bitcoin was doing meh. Altcoins were going down against Bitcoin. So people, of course, didn't believe in altcoins anymore. That's what happens in this market. And people were all about Bitcoin. Then pump funk came up. People, they started to ape into meme coins. Some people made a lot of money, but expression on some, of course, right? And that made a lot of people like fully go into meme coins. And you saw overall a lot of meme coins doing really well, and meme coins were the full hype. Now that hype is shifting into AI, and more specifically AI agents. It's like crazy how some projects completely exploded in that niche. I think that gaming will be one of the next hypes, right? And it's more than just a hype. Like gaming also have the narrative to back it up. A lot of people were saying like, wait for a mainstream hit to come and it blows up. I don't really agree on that. Like we have Off the Grid, right? Like that is already mainstream. We have a lot of good games out there, but it didn't move the market. And therefore people said, gaming's dead. No, what moves the market is the fact that I said like people they move their money somewhere which hasn't moved yet, and that gets a little green candle and people see it and it gets a bigger green candle and then the masses see it, right, and then it explodes. And that really hasn't happened with gaming yet. Now there are some projects that do that. We for example have Altora is one of the projects that I made a buckload of money on. Completely exploded. More NFTs still. Superverse, say whatever you want about all these high risk projects, but Superverse, as a relative low risk project, did a steady 27x, right? You don't have to take so much risk. We see Prime finally, breaking out. You see playable games breaking out of this range, right? But overall, the real big moves haven't happened yet, and that's what about to come. So I'm putting my money there. And then there are, of course, some low caps. Like, by the way, Wilder World is doing fantastic as well. This trend line I've drawn this a while back. And look, this was a very, pretty obvious one, actually. But I'm not putting it into the low caps just yet. But, man, I'm considering it maybe to already do it, because what you'll notice is that at a certain point, people, they made money on all these high caps and they have money and they feel like, okay, I want to gamble again, man. What's next? They're going to look at these low caps, right? These low cap games. And they'll be like, okay, a lot of upside to come, right? Dummy Online has a lot of upside. Neuros has a lot of upside, in my opinion. Star Atlas, great looking game, has a lot of upside. Illumia Crown has a lot of upside. I think that these are the ones that are next. Whack Me already kind of ripped already now. And I do think that this could go way higher. Decimated, sorry, hiccup. Decimated. People will look, eventually, they will look at this and be like, oh, this move right here, I want to be there. And it's now here. It's like, pretty decent, right? This still has like a 6-7x to go to get back to its like cycle high. I don't see why not, actually. I don't see why not, right? And that's why I'm putting my money today, right now. Maybe, well, not today, but very soon at least. I first need to take some profits here and there on altcoins that ripped. RXO, for example, got a good entry and take some profits. So that's where I think the money is going next. And in the meantime, with the complete altcoin market, like I said, I took some profits already. But I'm still in the process of it. But I took some profits. Why? Because my portfolio is just doing really well at the moment, and I don't want to be in a position where it does get a correction. And my cash crypto balance got a little unrealistic, if you ask me. So overall, I do think that the good gaming projects will rip. If you look at the gaming section. Let me give you a couple of coins specifically that I think are interesting. But first, let me change the language because it is like always terrible how it's Dutch. So if we go to gaming, you can, of course, now look at the high caps, right? But they already had their moment. Like the older coins like Gala was quite obvious. When we saw XRP and Cardano and all of that, it was like, okay, when is Gala? Like people remember that one as well, right? And here we go. Sandbox, same. Axie did fantastic. Decentraland, right? But this is not what I'm looking at right now. If I would look at gaming, I would look at Beam. Other than that, I would say go at least from here, because they all have a market cap under $1 billion. In the bull run that I just described, these projects can do great. They can give you great numbers, right? So make sure that you have your bag ready. I think Ronin is a fantastic project for the portfolio. Superverse as well, but after this pump, I would not necessarily say it's a good buy right now. I think Prime is nice. I think that Xi could be a very good play actually. And yeah, if you go lower, man, to the more single games than Wild World, like all these coins have so much upside. Again, this is a $200 million market cap and lower, right? You should not forget. Again, XRP, for example, it moved 5x. It's now sitting at a $135 billion market cap, right? There were billions added. More than 100 billion was added to XRP like it was nothing. I think that's because people remember that coin. But eventually people will take that money and put it somewhere else. And it takes a very small part of this, or this, or this, or even Bitcoin, for the low cap market to make them do instant 5x's or more. So yeah, good times are coming, guys. If you like the content, please like the content, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on. Thanks for watching. See you soon.